Hello, everybody. This is going to be part one of lighting demo from me, Anthony Jones. And this video is just going to talk about how I use different layer modes to basically light a character or even a scene very quickly to get me the colors I need to paint on top of. And then once I get those colors, then it's really important to be able to do a full detail painting on top of that. And I'm not going to really go into that after this. The next videos are going to be talking about lighting in a different aspect. And how to basically approach lighting in several different ways. And this is just one of them. And I think this one's really useful, and I think a lot of people can use this one or find some use to this somehow. So, this concept you're looking at is not mine. It's from Halo 4. It's done by my good buddy Paul Richards. He's a much better designer than me, so I decided to just take one of his designs that he did for the Prometheans for Halo 4, and decided to do this little painting demo over it because I think this design is freaking kick-ass, and I want to take it to the next level and see if we can add some dynamic lighting to this. So, essentially, what I did after a few minutes, I went over and painted. I did a gradient from the bottom, kind of like this blue gradation, and a yellow gradation from the top. So there's a sense of depth within just gradients, and I don't do it overbearingly. It's probably the gradations at like 20%, so that way it's very, very subtle. I feel like 30% is all you need to do when it goes to subtleness. Like you don't need to go over 20, or you don't need to go over 30% of difference of a change in the value and color. And also, I went in here and I'll kind of go and do some what you call it. I'll go in here and paint in basically what I call ambient occlusion for the painting. Well, it's not what I call it. It's what it is. It's basically where the light is having a really, really tough time getting into those little nooks and crannies, and you just paint in a little darker shadow. And I just go straight black. I don't care about not using black. I know a lot of people say you shouldn't, but I don't care what they say. Like it looks and feels good to me. I don't think you should do this. Where it's like overbearingly black and it's obviously not correct. I think you should definitely be very, very, uh, sensitive about how much black you're putting in there. But it definitely adds more depth. Um, and then even using the same brush as airbrush to just really push the form. And I've already kind of done a quick uh, example of this, but I'm just of example of what I'm about to do. And so what I'm going to do here is show you what I've already done. And now you can see like a lot of stuff has happened from that step. So let's take it one step at a time. So essentially, what I did was I darkened the background and I darkened the character. Okay, so you can see the character is pretty much the same, and I just darkened him, and I obviously separated him from the original kind of white that he was around, and that's pretty much it. And the way that I darkened him, I used essentially hue and saturation, and I just darkened him like that. He was originally light, and I just took him down a notch. How dark I made him? I made him as dark as I made my kind of background. My background is not completely black, but it's definitely really dark. And I like dark backgrounds and dark environments because you can really push the lighting. Because things like black exists, right? The only way that black truly exists is in really dark rooms. So if I didn't want it to have really dramatic like blacks and darks, then I would put it in a lighter room. But for the case of this demo, I put them in a really dark room. And on the next step, if you look over here on the right, you can see that I have a layer that's basically clipped to this layer with the character on it. And all I did was paint in kind of where I thought the lighting would hit. Now let's look at some things that are happening. First of all, it's on linear dodge. Linear dodge, if we turn it off, this is the real color that's being used. Okay, and so I'm gonna grab this color and I'm gonna put it on its own layer so we can see this color. Whoops, Let me put this layer on top of everything so that way we can see it. Okay, so this is the color that I've used for that. So let's say I wanted to resculpt this um, light. Like I decided I want to put some of it over here, even maybe some of it here on the fingers. And there you have it. I've done that, and it's you know added. And then I go back to linear dodge add, and what it does is it changes the color, but it looks a little bit more appropriate. It looks like it's actually affecting different materials differently, and it's changing the color. Because light will change color when it touches different materials and color. So uh, I like to do this just because it's a really fun and easy way to implement some dramatic lighting. And the light, I think in 3 dimension, the light is directly coming from his side, which is in a Z depth. It's going to be kind of, it's not like a straight left to, or from right to left. It's kind of a diagonal type of lighting that's coming in on him. That's why we're getting this harsh rim. And, what's great is that if I want to paint on this layer, I can still paint on it however I want, right? And let's say I do change my color. If I just pick this color right here, I should be able to paint back onto this layer and make it match correctly. So then the next step that I did was I put in like this kind of blue kind of rim coming from his other side. Now, this one's a different color. This one's a different color in different mode. I used color dodge. Now, color dodge I feel is a little bit more appropriate for what I want from this layer. Because if I do linear dodge, you'll see how it's a little too bright. And this is something that I think you should try, is try different layer modes, because maybe different layer modes will give you different effects, and the effects that you want. And more importantly, no matter what effect or no matter what color you choose, you can choose like this weird color at the beginning. If you just go to hue and saturation, you can change it, and changing it will change the sense of lighting. Like now, there's some sort of purplish light that's coming from the side that's really hitting him, you know. And so that's why I put everything on its own layer with its own mode, depicting what I really wanted to do. So let's go to normal and see what that color really is. So this is the color that I don't think I started with this color, but I definitely ended up with this color. And so what I'll do is I'll put it back on top of where my swatches are at, right? Because these swatches are going to be important if there needs to be changes. And once I put that up there, I can go back here and I can go to hard light. I'm sorry, not hard light, color dodge. And if I want to make changes, I'm on that layer. I'm on my brush, and I can just paint now. So I can erase, paint in, using that color, and it's going to match the rest of the color that's on here. And it's just a really easy way of keeping track of your lighting and all that stuff. Okay, and then last but not least, I do kind of a detail pass with just kind of like a regular lighting. And this lands on color dodge, but there's something special about this. If we go here, you'll notice that a few things have been turned off. And it's these two. Blend clipped layers as group and transparency shape layers. Now look what happens when I turn them back on. It kind of like paints over our actual painting. And why this happens is because without these off, what it's basically doing is just painting on that layer. It's actually like whatever is on that layer it's painting on. And unfortunately there's nothing on that layer. See, if you look, it's pretty transparent, except for the stuff that I painted on it. But what I really wanted it to do was to bleed through and hit everything that's underneath it, right? And so that's why turning these off will do that. Now you can see that my shadows aren't affected, and some of these forms are affected more accurately than I originally, or what I intended it to do. So turning these two off is a really good thing. And to get to this layer style menu, if you didn't know, just double click on the empty space. It usually, like, see where the name is? Don't click on the name, but like anything on this around it is a good way to just jump right into there. And you can see that every mode has it. So I can go here and turn these off, but obviously these don't have any effect. And plus they're doing what I want it to do, so I don't really feel this necessary. Actually, this might benefit from turning it off. And so now that we have all these three different lightings, I can change them however I want. So if I want this to be kind of like a purple lighting, now it's that. If I want this to be more of a blue lighting, now it's that. You know, the same thing with this. Sorry, hue saturation. And you just mess with hue, because that's all we're changing, is just a hue. And now we got something completely different, lit completely different, and feels much different from what we started with. So, anyways, I hope this helps you guys out. If you have any questions, feel free to ask them in the comments below. And thanks a lot, and enjoy.